Never puzzle you.
Did y'all know that D'Angelo is dropping an album this year? Did you know? I feel like I should have recorded this video a very long time ago, and I have a very strange relationship with the Weeknd's music. I feel like it's always something that I've never admitted to being a heavy fan of, but I've always kind of had in rotation, just never played enough to ever admit to myself, hey, this dude has been a pretty important part of your life. I fully understood why people thought The Weeknd was a group when he first came out. I didn't hear of him until House of Balloons had dropped. I was 16 years old, so it was almost a decade ago. Wait, I think I was 15.
Ladies and gentlemen,
wow.
We got him.
I was 15. I was young, hot, and ready. I still am. House of Balloons marked an evolution for R&B that took it out of its boring stage, in my opinion, and made it a little bit more exciting. Not necessarily because The Weeknd portrayed himself as a bit of a dick, more so that he was so intentionally being shallow that it made it possible for you to actually feel sorry for him. The whole album, he's blurring the lines between drug use and erotica, love and depression, and it couldn't have dropped at a better time in my life because at least girls at the time would think that I was intentionally being emotionally distant out of some want to appear cool or mysterious.
Take a glance, don't be scared.
See, I feel a lot of people misinterpret The Weeknd's shallowness on this album as his intention of being interpreted as the man, or I can do whatever I want, have whenever I want. When in so many instances, he makes it so blatantly clear here that he just wants people to stay away because he doesn't honestly believe in love or know what it is. He just knows that he wants it. But in order to defend and protect himself, he's created this hollow shell of who he actually is, so that in the event that he gets hurt, penetrated, don't take that out of context, or scarred in any way, it won't leave too bad of a mark because there's nothing inside him anyway. And that was me at 15, minus the drug use and the awareness that I was actually doing it. See, there was a certain glitch found in a certain school program that enabled me to take advantage of absence. And so in that absence during the day, I was doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. In that, you pick up a lot of emotional baggage that you're not mentally equipped to handle. I convinced myself at the time that I was just in control. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was getting into. So at no point could I be the victim to the things that I had willfully indulged in. Boy, I was wrong.
Stop us. Ain't no one gonna stop us. I'm the drug in your veins. I'm what you need, what you need, what you need, what you I'm what you.
I don't know, the Weeknd's detractors right now are probably already watching this saying to themselves, if you could relate to that at 15 years old, what does that say about his songwriting? What does that say about who he was as a person? I had those things going on, yes, but without the accompanying drug use, okay? That would have complicated my life. I would have OD'd. I'm not an in-between kind of guy. I'm a 0 or 100. So if I don't do drugs, I just don't do drugs. But if I do, I'm going straight to heroin. And I feel like that's the path of an addict. They take themselves through the method of thinking that I can start out small and it just progressively grows into a bigger and bigger problem. And this was one of the first examples of someone making R&B that was sultry, intimate, seductive, chaotic, toxic, but also from the perspective of someone acknowledging that they have a drug problem. At the time in hip hop, black men were kind of marketed as the manufacturer, as a distributor of hard drugs. They were never like in the music from the mainstream or even from some of the underground points of views. They were never the main victims of it. But then we switch to R&B and we have Abel here who's presenting that exterior from a user's point of view. House of Balloons, the title track, is one of the early examples of The Weeknd's voice standing atop the production. It's not carried by its aesthetic. The sample here simply elevates. Now at the time, I didn't know that was Susie and the Banshees. When I found out years later, I would connect the dots a little bit more and be like, oh my God, this song is so much better now. I was in Oak Park in Michigan. It was mid-2011. And this was before Instagram was as popular as it is right now. This was back when people were still trying to transition their Facebook following over into their Instagram following, and more local people were promoting house parties, but in the daytime. Moms is at work 5 to 6 every day. I know this school a glitch. We in there.
Can't recognize my
I was only going to these house parties to see two chicks. And I was convinced somewhere in my brain that I didn't come here because I liked these people. I came here because I needed to be reminded that I'm still like breathing. So in a way, this kind of felt like my happy house. If I look at the original Susie and the Banshee song, the entirety of the song is purposefully ironic. It's like meaning the opposite. Anyone who believed that this was just shallowness speaking, The Weeknd tells you here that he's not having fun at this party. He doesn't enjoy being around these people. He feels trapped here almost. And these distractions are the only way he's found any kind of power or leverage over something in his life, and even that's poisonous to him. And it was just masked depression and a loneliness that was made to be mocked so that the people around him and the people who didn't know him wouldn't have to worry or wouldn't have to care. He wants to appear shallow. He wants to appear like a bit of a dick, so that people don't feel the need to have sympathy for him. He doesn't want to be intimate with these people. He doesn't want to let anybody in. And that's one of the reasons I've always liked House of Balloons so much, because it was always far more in touch with its blues roots than I think people gave it credit for. Like, sure, I think most people can take pride in the fact that you can easily see through how shallow The Weeknd appears to be on this project, but that shallowness appears so blatant that it's almost sad. Like, who would want to live life just to do this shit? And I was doing this regularly, back to back, same routine, every time I could, convincing myself that I was making the decision and that whatever it was that I was going for had no hold over me. When you're 15 years old and a girl tells you, you can have her whenever you want, you feel like the most powerful being in the entire universe. And that's what I was. I was Thanos for those 10 to 20 minutes every couple days. The beautiful part about House of Balloons is there is a moment where the song shifts. There is a moment where the song shifts into this nocturnal, very bass heavy, confident atmosphere where it feels more like The Weeknd is in control. He goes from being like the victim to the perpetrator.
2 puffs for the lady who be down for that. Whatever, together, bring the whole stash of the greatest, trade it. All that money, the money is the motive. Oh, girl, put in work, girl, put in.
This was my lively soundtrack when I was 2011. This was it. 2011, 2012, 2013. There was no R&B touching this. And this is when I noticed how contractual and limited The Weeknd's relationship seemed to be when I played Wicked games.
Buddy, baby, I could bring you fame. I need confidence in my...
Super transactional, super quick, all this to avoid intimacy. When he does get a girl, he self-sabotages the relationship because he don't want her to get too close. These things that literally any person could attain is what gives this man the most confidence, and that's sad. Walking down paths you know have zero distance and forever opening doors you know can never bring you any closure. Why is Abel afraid of intimacy? And then I get into my personal bag, and then I'm like, okay, well, this is where, you know, childhood trauma generally stems from. I can't speak for Abel's childhood experiences, but that's generally where that stuff comes from. I can only speak for myself. There is one specific trauma that I'm speaking toward that I think he may be gearing toward, but I can't say, and I wouldn't try to put that on anyone. I could just understand having such fear of the world and such fear of other people that you create an empty shell of yourself so you can't technically be harmed. And I'm sure there's another think piece out there and another conversation that can be had about why anyone would sympathize with a guy who is using the traction and the buzz off of his recent success to kind of almost manipulate young women into blurring the lines of their infatuation with him and drug use. But I never felt R&B delivered with such brutal honesty in this way before. Most mainstream records were, baby, please take me back. I was wrong. I'm like, who the fuck wants this wuss? This dude cheats on you, treats you horribly, then makes a song about it and goes platinum, and then women think he's just this gentleman. Male R&B, at least in the mainstream, to me, was just men pretending to be simps to win back their women. And that was something I could always see through growing up, and I just wanted them to be honest and own it. You're a piece of shit. Say it on a record. Are you afraid to tell people that you are a piece of shit? No sad violins playing behind your apology with some woe is me aesthetic. Can you genuinely tell people, I suck as a human being, regardless of whether or not they find it respectable? Fuck them. That doesn't mean don't change. That doesn't mean not become better. but just acknowledge who you are. What you do is indicative of who you are. And The Weeknd was being straight honest in my opinion, okay? I absolutely hate the mix on this song. I absolutely hate it. But this song is so sexy. Oh my god, this song is so perfect. God was watching over me because there's no reason I shouldn't have kids right now. My sister just recently, you know, had her son, and my nephew's here. I love him to death. But if I would have had something like that when I was 15, 16 years old, I'd have jumped off a fucking bridge. God was watching the kid. I hope he wasn't watching too much. Whoever was on guitar right here, yo, one of my eyes was up here, and then the other one was,
You know, they don't want my love. They just want my potential. Drowning in your love, got me drowning in your mist.
Jesus. The Weeknd, man, this dude is legendary. And I still haven't really processed that his music was such a heavy part of my adolescence, and the nigga just casually commented under my shit. I still haven't even processed that. I don't think it really registered in my mind until I listened to this. I don't think it registered how long ago I was listening to this dude. Like, that's genuinely crazy. I have to think about that right now. This dude was the soundtrack for emotional instability for a time in my life. Like, fuck him being The Weeknd. This dude's music was like all I was listening to for like a whole year and a half. And then we have like my favorite track on the album. Like, it might not be the best track on the album, even though it kind of is. It's one of my favorites. I don't know what my favorite track on this album is. On this tape, I don't know what it is. All I know is the minute he made this song, even when I was 15, I immediately got it. It immediately registered for me what he was doing and what he was saying on this track, where he's tricked himself into believing that he genuinely has feelings for the girl that he's with, even though he's only faced with the reality that he doesn't want to be alone when he's not high. Going into the last tracks, especially the second half of Loft music, how haunting the aesthetic is, how ghostly his voice can be, how drenched in reverb his vocals are, taking R&B and mixing it and fusing it with dream pop. We haven't even spoken to this album's influence. The amount of people that tried to recreate this.
Want you to know now. I always want you when I'm coming.
This is a perfect record. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I know why you don't like it. I know why you don't like it. I'm not gonna say it. We all know why you don't like it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna just let you ponder on that one.
Everything before I get up. I always want you when I'm coming.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I was kind of supposed to infuse a part of my life in here, but like, what does it matter? Really, what does it matter when I still have the good part of those bad experiences? When I played The Knowing, that was when everything just kind of hit. Because then I was made aware that I was never in control from the very beginning. I had been feeding into this lie I'd been telling myself that I don't feel anything, that nothing is affecting me, that carried this demeanor in the situationship. And she stepped out. She stepped out on the kid. She stepped out. And I left a voicemail with about as many words as this receipt. I left a heartless, ruthless voicemail on my super prideful, I know everything shit. On some Denzel Washington at the end of Training Day type shit.
You think you can do this to me?
Probably thought that you break my heart. Probably thought that you make me cry. I know everything.
But she called back and she was crying and she was heartbroken. It told me how bad I made her feel, and she just wanted me to hurt. She wanted me to feel pain. Keep in mind, I was the first to step out and I still felt like I didn't do anything wrong. She's saying all this and I'm on the other line crying, like mad tears is flowing from my face, and I have to make it seem like I don't care, so I can't sniff. So I'm looking like Viola Davis or Fences on the other end of the line because I refuse to sniff. This is where the album ended. 28 wasn't added. It wasn't on there yet, I don't believe. So it was just 9 fantastic fucking songs. There needs to be a better study into why the things we may experience as children, we kind of create defense mechanisms for as we get older without realizing it. You know, sometimes you don't even remember what the fuck happened to you as a kid, and you're doing stuff to defend against something you don't even remember happening. But that's what they say is usually linked to. I'm not an expert. All I know is The Weeknd connected with me on a very deep level when I was younger, and I still listen to this tape to this day and reminisce on those times, and I think about how much this dude has progressed. I know I said The Weeknd really resonated with me, but Miguel, that was like my classy phase. I'll be back soon. This won't be the last video in this vein. I'll be back soon. I'm gonna go cry.